4 more deaths, 212 new COVID-19 infections recorded today. Additional 600 million ringgit for Health Ministry to tackle COVID-19. Hello and good evening. I'm Mohana Priya. Welcome to News on 2. A total of 212 new COVID-19 cases are reported today, the highest daily increase since the start of the outbreak in late January. This brings the country's tally of the infections to 1,518. Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said of the 212 new cases, 123 were traced to the Tabligh gathering in Sri Petaling, Kuala Lumpur. Dr. Nur Hisham also reported 4 new deaths, bringing the death toll to 14. The 11th death was a 70-year-old Malaysian man with a history of chronic illness. He was admitted to Hospital Chancellor Tuanku Mukhris University Kebangsaan Malaysia on 18th March and passed away last night, while the 12th death involved a 70-year-old Malaysian man from the Tabligh cluster. He was admitted to Kluang Hospital and pronounced dead today.
Kes kematian ke-13 merupakan kes 1006, berumur 49 tahun, lelaki warga negara Malaysia. Beliau merupakan anak kepada kes 1031. Beliau disahkan meninggal dunia pada 23 Mac 2020. Kes kematian ke-14 merupakan kes 595, berumur 51 tahun, perempuan warga negara Malaysia. Beliau merupakan kontak rapat kepada kes positif COVID-19 dari kluster Tabligh dan dirawat di Hospital Miri Sarawak. Beliau disahkan meninggal dunia pada 23 Mac 2020.
He said as of today, 57 positive COVID-19 patients are being treated in intensive care unit ICUs, in which 27 cases are given respiratory support. The government will be channeling an additional 600 million ringgit to the Ministry of Health to aid their fight to contain COVID-19, as well as to recruit new staff, especially nurses. Speaking at a special media conference in Putrajaya today, Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin also said that to expedite the purchase of critical equipment, the government had also approved emergency procurement procedures.
Peruntukan ini antara lainnya akan digunakan untuk membiayai pembelian peralatan perubatan seperti ventilator dan juga peralatan di ICU, peralatan perlindungan diri PPE, tambahan bagi kekantangan perkhidmatan perubatan awam serta keperluan makmal untuk saringan COVID-19.
Besides that, a total of 100 million ringgit is also provided to the Health Ministry to recruit 2,000 new staff on contract basis, especially nurses.
Ramai jururawat dan kekantangan hospital yang amat keletihan pada masa ini kerana mereka terpaksa bekerja siang dan malam untuk membuat saringan kes COVID-19 dan merawat mereka yang disahkan positif. Saya berharap pengambilan kakitangan baru ini akan dapat dibuat dengan segera supaya semua hospital di negara kita mempunyai kakitangan yang mencukupi untuk menangani penularan wabak COVID-19.
Now, Malaysians are now allowed to withdraw a maximum of 500 ringgit monthly from their Employee Provident Fund or EPF savings to buy essential goods amid the worsening COVID-19 pandemic. In announcing this, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said all Malaysians aged 55 and below were eligible to withdraw from their account too in EPF for a period of 12 months.
Tadi saya telah pun
According to the Premier, this initiative worth 40 billion ringgit in withdrawals is expected to benefit almost 12 million EPF members. Applications will be open beginning 1st April.
Nasihat saya pada anda semua yang akan menerima manfaat ini, gunakanlah wang ini sebaik mungkin. Beli barang-barang yang perlu saja dalam waktu yang agak sukar ini. Yang penting pastikan setiap hari ada makanan di atas meja untuk seisi keluarga.
Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the government will be announcing a more comprehensive economic stimulus package and People's Aid on 30th March in light of the current COVID-19 economic situation which has affected many. He said that comprehensive measures were being studied by the Finance Ministry which would take into account the needs of those from all economic backgrounds. The Premier also announced that an additional allocation of 130 million ringgit will be channeled to each state government to mitigate the COVID-19 outbreak. He said the allocation can be used to provide aid to hawkers and petty traders and COVID-19 patients and their families, as well as procure healthcare equipment and recruit new healthcare workers involved in combating the disease.
Peruntukan sama rata akan diberikan pada setiap negeri tanpa mengira parti mana yang membentuk kerajaan negeri yang berkenaan. Krisis yang sedang pun kita hadapi ini memberikan kesan pada semua rakyat tanpa mengira kaum, agama dan kecenderungan politik. Maka sebab itulah saya berpandangan semua pihak tanpa mengira fahaman politik mestilah bersama-sama berganding bahu dan bersatu padu untuk menangani krisis yang sedang pun kita hadapi ini. Menjaga keselamatan rakyat, kesihatan rakyat dan nyawa rakyat adalah tanggungjawab kita bersama yang melampaui batas politik.
As for the National Higher Education Fund Corporation, PTPTN borrowers, the Premier said the government has agreed to extend the 3-month deferment period for loan repayments to 6 months. He said the 6-month deferment, which involves a collection amounting to 750 million ringgit, takes effect today until 30th September. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also announced that the government will purchase and distribute face masks to all Malaysians who are in need for free in its effort to contain the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The cost of the masks, priced at around 1 ringgit 18 cent per piece, will be absorbed by the government. He said instructions have been given to the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, to prepare financial details on this and to expedite the order and shipment. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also noted that local manufacturers were currently facing shortages in raw materials needed to make the face masks, most of which are sourced from suppliers overseas. Meanwhile, on the price of face masks, the Premier said the government is having discussions with the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs and relevant stakeholders to set the ceiling price of face masks at a reasonable value. Asked if the current movement control order imposed until 31st March will be extended further, the Premier said the National Security Council, which will convene before the end of the period, will decide if there is a need for an extension.
Tapi sebelum tempoh itu tamat pada 30, kalau tak silap saya, hari bulan Mac, Majlis Keselamatan Negara akan bersidang. Sama ada langkah yang telah diambil untuk tempoh 2 minggu itu memadai atau perlu kita lanjutkan untuk tempoh seminggu ataupun 2 minggu daripada tarikh tamatnya 30 bulan Mac yang akan datang. Ini akan kita kaji dan kita akan maklumkan.
Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the decision will be based on the level of compliance by the public on MCO, which is currently at 90%. The compliance rate of the movement control order has increased to 92% today with the involvement of the armed forces yesterday. Senior Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said a total of 1,903 roadblocks were conducted during the first day of joint enforcement between the police, armed forces, RELA and the Malaysian Civil Defence Force. The senior minister said a total of 120,615 vehicles were inspected yesterday, indicating that many are still stubborn and are not adhering to the MCO. He also urged the public to practice social distancing by keeping a 1-meter distance, as its implementation is still not fully observed, especially at the supermarkets and wet markets.
Mungkin kita perlu ada peraturan, iaitu untuk masuk ke dalam pasar dan masuk ke dalam pasaraya mesti secara berperingkat dan berperingkat, ya, supaya penjarakan sosial itu dapat kita laksanakan.
On a separate issue, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said to ensure a smooth journey for those who are working in the essential services, he urged employers to issue a supporting document to workers. He said the Secretary General of each ministry will be facilitating this for the civil servants and hoped that the private sector would also do their part. Although there are only 8% of people still ignoring the Movement Control Order MCO, it is still a worrying number and has to be looked into seriously. According to the armed forces, 8% represents almost 3 million of the total Malaysian population, which is a lot, and if this is allowed to continue, it will defeat the purpose of enforcing the MCO. The Army, in a statement, said its presence alongside the police force was to help create awareness among the Rakyat and ensure they really understood the directive issued by the government. The armed forces also agreed that focus would be on high-risk areas such as markets and supermarkets where there are still crowds of people who did not adhere to social distancing when buying their essential goods. The public is also advised not to be influenced by viral news, especially those accompanied by photos, videos and audio recordings, to avoid panic. The Malaysian Armed Forces will use drone and unmanned aerial vehicle UAV technology to monitor compliance of the Movement Control Order, which is currently in force to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Armed Forces Chief Tan Sri Effendi Buang said the matter had been discussed with the local industry to increase the number of drones and UAVs to be used.
Kita akan menggunakan UAV dan drone di mana kita akan bekerjasama dengan industri tempatan sebab nak gunakan apa yang ada kita ada pun kan sebab nak pakai banyak ni kita industri tempatan sanggup memberi bantuan kepada kita dan ini akan digunakan mungkin dalam sehari dua lagi. Saya percaya ini akan boleh menambah baik proses pengawasannya.
Currently, 7,500 Army personnel have been deployed to assist the police in enforcing the MCO nationwide. General Tan Sri Effendi said the armed forces is committed to achieving full compliance with the MCO and prepared to increase deployment of its personnel if necessary. A mechanic became the first person to be charged in connection with the Movement Control Order for obstructing a public servant from discharging his duty in enforcing the 14-day order, as Punyamurthy, 33, pleaded guilty to the charge in the Sungai Siput Magistrates Court today after it was read out before Magistrate Nur Habsarina Ayub. Punyamurthy was fined 5,000 ringgit in default 10 months jail for the offence. Punyamurthy was charged with voluntarily obstructing a police officer from discharging his public functions by refusing to produce his personal identification document and pushing the police officer concerned in front of his house at Taman Orchid last Friday. The charge under Section 186 of the Penal Code provides an imprisonment for up to 2 years or maximum fine of 10,000 ringgit or both if found guilty. Deputy Public Prosecutor Jean Xiao Chung Hui prosecuted the case, and the accused was represented by lawyer Nurul Hanis Muhammad Zaini from the National Legal Aid Foundation.
Selama tempoh 2 minggu ini, saudara-saudari dan anak-anak hanya perlu berada di rumah. Just stay at home. Luangkan masa bersama-sama anak, isteri dan ahli keluarga. Tidak perlulah keluar ke mana-mana. Dengan cara ini, saudara-saudari terhindar daripada jangkitan COVID-19 dan penularan wabak ini insya-Allah dapat kita bendung. Inilah tujuan sebenar Perintah Kawalan Pergerakan dilaksanakan oleh kerajaan.
Plus, Malaysia Berhad has announced that they are temporarily closing all the reload facilities at its Toll Plaza customer service centres and reload lanes at both open and closed toll highway during the movement control order period. The highway concessionaire explained that such a move was part of the effort undertaken by the firm to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 between toll personnel and highway users. In a statement released, Plus said reload facilities such as self-service kiosks are available at 67 locations at selected rest and service areas, as well as various banks' automated teller machines, petrol stations and convenience stores. Patrons are also advised to keep a 1 meter distance when queuing, and passengers are also advised to alight one person from vehicle to make F&B purchases. Muslims are encouraged to bring their own prayer mats, while the women are advised to bring their own prayer attire to the surau. Meanwhile, Prasarana Malaysia Berhad has announced that the MyRapid concession card and bus customer service counters at Pasar Seni have been closed since 20th March in accordance with the movement order. The Johor government has issued a guideline to limit the operating hours of several business premises or services during the ongoing movement control order throughout the state starting today. According to a list issued by the state government, the latest guideline covers restaurants, convenience stores in petrol stations and 24-hour convenience stores that will see their operating hours limited from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Department stores are to close by 7 p.m, while Pasar Malam or night markets and Pasar Tani are not allowed to operate throughout the duration of the MCO. Johor Health and Environment Committee Chairman R. Vidyanandan said the state government has agreed to shorten the period of operation of business premises, and the respective local councils must make arrangements for business premises to adhere to it. He said traders and the public are asked to refer to local councils in their respective areas for the recommended operation hours. Johor has a total of 14 municipal or local councils and 2 city councils. On the latest COVID-19 figures for the state, Vidyanandan said to date, Johor has reported a total of 145 cases, which also involved 1 death on 17th March. The Malaysian Bar Council has called on government agencies, including the Inland Revenue Board, Customs Department and land officers to exercise fairness in dealing with applications or requests by lawyers for an extension period on payments owed during the movement control order. Its President Salim Bashir, in a statement released today, said the agencies must be cognizant of the present difficulties as lawyers attempt to fulfill their legal and administrative obligations on behalf of their firms and clients, despite not being able to go to their offices. Commenting further on the matter, Salim said the bar was aware that some law firms felt pressured to remain open as a result of demands and instructions made by some banks and financial institutions, which were allowed to operate while the movement order is in place. He said the nature of work for lawyers did not fall under the definition of essential services in the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases measures within the Infected Local Areas Regulations 2020, which meant lawyers must stay at home or work from home. Through a circular issued to its members dated 18th March, Salim said the bar had strongly advised members against opening their law firms during the MCO period to keep in line with the government directive. But first, any decision on whether the Malaysia Games or SUKMA in Johor will proceed or not in July will only be made once the movement control order ends on 31st March. According to National Sports Council NSC Director General Dato' Ahmad Shapawi Ismail, the matter will be decided after 31st March, as the SUKMA Supreme Council meeting last week that was supposed to discuss the matter had to be postponed due to the ongoing movement control order from 18th to 31st March. As such, National Sports Council Director General Dato' Ahmad Shapawi Ismail said there is no decision yet on whether the Johor edition of the Games will be postponed or even cancelled. He was commenting on a blog post which claimed that 28 sports associations have voted for the biennial games not to be held as scheduled from 11th to 19th July due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier, the Olympic Council of Malaysia was also reported to have suggested for the Johor SUKMA dates to be reviewed as a result of the COVID-19 situation. Concludes this evening's News on 2. In our top story today, 4 more deaths, 212 new COVID-19 infections recorded today. Don't forget to wash your hands regularly, practice social distancing, and most of all, let's adhere to the movement control order and just stay at home. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Mohana Priya. Thanks for watching.